Something has happened. Yeah, okay. Hi everyone. Hopefully we are audible and visible. So just give us a minute to check that, as always. So yeah, we are audible and visible. So once again, hi everyone. Uh, yeah, today we are here to continue our last week's discussion on chronic illness and stigma. And a lot of things were said last time, and we focused on the general concept of stigma and the general stereotypes that everyone with a chronic illness across the world faces. But today we are going to be discussing things that are specific to Indian culture and specific to Indian society. So I think the theme of our discussion last time was just like not to assume, yeah, like not to for people to not to assume things about chronic illness, chronically ill people, and like just to talk to us. So, but yeah, people do assume things, and I think like a lot of stuff is said, and I think that's where we want to begin from today. So, like Kumudini, you were diagnosed very early, right? Like you had symptoms very early, and you were diagnosed at 20. So, like, what things were said to
Yeah.
you? Do you think like during your childhood, when you were in your teen years, like what things were said to you, like about your
Mm.
illness and stuff?
Um, Yeah, like it all started like in my teens when I was almost 13 years or something. I was still in my school, and at that age, definitely even I didn't know like what was happening with me. Like suddenly my body texture changed, and the way I looked, and my eyes especially was swollen, and my complete body was completely differently visible. The visibility of mine was a little awkward as well. So like everyone started like taunting at me, like what is happening with you? And people didn't know like how exactly they have to speak with a child at that age, and they started throwing all those words which usually typical Indians use, like maybe some bad karma of which you are has made you like this, and at this young age you're suffering so much, and you're not cautious about your health or anything. You eat everything on road or anything. So basically, I wasn't that kind of a girl who ate any bakery stuffs or anything. I was very, but yeah, I used to love junk food and all. But still, when people started taunting me on those stars, it used to be like really awkward. And at that age, no, you don't know, like whatever people tell, we take it so seriously. And I even started giving up on even those junk food as well. Like I was so very particular on my food then. Like, what if somebody tells me like if you're fat, you're not concerned about your health, anything, even small minute suggestions, I used to take it so seriously, and that itself ruined so much of my life, I think.
Yeah, like
And
I didn't used to consume a
especially
lot
when
of.
it comes to even the
Yeah, no, no, keep going, keep going.
yeah, especially when it comes to the body image also, like suddenly I started losing on weight. And for that also, I used to get so many suggestions like try this, try that. Why are you so ignorant about your health? So whatever people used to tell, I just used to start trying it, but like it had a very bad effect on my health as well. And I didn't know anything about Crohn's or my intestine, which was silently getting damaged, but still I was throwing a lot of pressure on my stomach and my intestines unknowingly.
Why did you feel like this? I want to ask that. Why did you do all those things? Like, did you feel like mental pressure or like societal pressure to comply with whatever everyone else was saying?
Exactly. Yeah, I was like so concerned because all my peers were like looking so good, and they were like happily roaming around, very chubby and all. But something was very bad wrong with me, or I was so ignorant. I didn't know because At that age, though, I had no clue what was happening, and I used to feel that it was my obligation that I have to do whatever people tell me, and nobody should point out on me next time. So that was like a very big pressure on me.
Yeah, yeah. Like with me, like I didn't used to consume a lot of junk food, but like right before I was diagnosed, I was doing an internship. So like I had to travel and sometimes I would eat junk food. Then everyone was like, so I was like, all my life I have eaten nothing. And like just for this, like I can't get this much like punishment for like just eating one burger for like a month or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya, was it like similar with you?
Um, I mean, I've heard all sorts of things that, like, oh, you're probably lazy, that's why your joints hurt, or like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I mean, in general, I feel like Indian society will say something regardless if you're doing things right or wrong. Um, but then when they have a reason, I guess, to kind of comment, then it's just like 10 times worse.
Yeah. But like, did you feel the same pressure from your parents or like other people, like to act on whatever they were saying?
Mm, I think I did because I felt like I needed to prove that I was trying everything I could, and that I wasn't like purposely doing this to myself. But I imagine in India it would be a lot worse because you're
So,
surrounded by everyone.
yeah, yeah.
The problem here is like everyone starts giving their suggestions. They think like they have known it much better than what even the doctors knows. So like, and we like without knowing, we start following each and everything, and we start ruining our lives then.
Yeah, I think,
And
yeah,
just because of that pressure, like nobody should point out on us, and even we should be the same, like how our peers look or they perform. So with that pressure, we start like pressurizing our bodies or our stomach, whatever, mentally and both physically. This is
uh,
what is a
yeah.
bigger problem, I think.
Do you think like the pressure was no, like the pressure was just from your peers or like from elderly in the family or like relatives also? Because I think in India we have that concept of like in Indian society that we have to respect our elders and like do
Mhm.
whatever they say. So like, did you face anything that kind of?
Yeah, more pressure was from elders and family relatives. Peers was just a comparison. Like, see that friend of yours, she's so stout and very healthy, and you are of same age. Why are you not taking care of your health? Or especially it start from marriage, because that they are considered that we are like ready for marriage, and they start comparing on those terms. Like, if you are so weak now, how will you be able to manage your family when you grow up and get married? All those kinds of taunts. Uh, these were the ones which really irritates.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think even living in England, I heard it from like loads of elderly relatives. Like, I don't know, it's just like that, like pity mentality, like, why her? Why this? And it's just like indirectly it is taunts, but they're trying to, I guess, be like considerate. I don't know. But it's definitely like, I know my parents didn't want to tell um, people back in India or quite traditional family members because they were like, they're going to jump to the kind of conclusions you just mentioned about what Indian people do.
Like I was today thinking about this a bit. So, like basically, I think like in our culture or society, it's like I think sickness is like some like even with the karma comments, right? I think they view sickness as some kind of punishment or like see some like shameful like tag that like once you are sick, like either you are like an
Yeah.
untouchable or something, or like it's some kind of punishment. So and then
Mhm.
yeah, like people like to hide like the fact that like someone is suffering from such an illness. So like I don't think that people understand that these illnesses are like it's not in our control or like these can happen to
Mhm.
anyone. Like it's a natural thing like to be sick, right? Like of like yeah, there are sicknesses that people get
Yeah.
when they like indulge, let's say like smoking or like too much alcohol something like that. But yeah, with these illnesses like it's not in our control like like but I don't know. There's this view that I think people think that this is some kind of punishment, and like, yeah, like last time also we discussed that we must have done something wrong, and then like you are saying that yeah, people hide the fact that someone in our family is suffering from this kind of thing, or like, especially with girls, I think it's especially more pronounced because like I want to ask, like, when did you start getting these comments? Like, how young were you before like you started getting these comments about marriage and like stuff?
Yeah, it was like I was in my teens. I had just entered my teens during those days and still in school. I was from a very healthy family. Like my parents or my even my siblings used to think like fever or anything we have to get only like twice in a year. That's it, and it shouldn't go over. Otherwise, you are like very weak or something. That's how they used to consider, and you have to be so strong to lift even one big bucket of water or anything like that. That sort. So when they started seeing me like being so weak and very fatty all the time, they started telling me like, "Why are you so weak? Why is this happening with you?" Like, I mean, it's not a empathizing way, but a very sympathizing way. So that used to hurt me a lot. And during those times itself, whenever I used to attend any functions or anything with my siblings or my cousins, yeah, definitely those relatives, whoever used to see me in that group, they used to compare me with those people and they started giving such comments. Yeah, it all started from teens itself. Like, that's how people used to like target people. I don't know, like, they think like they're doing some favor by suggesting, but nobody even thought that that's not the way to actually suggest something to a teenage girl. And it had a lot of impact on my mental health as well. Like I started feeling too inferior to go out, step out, and be in the group, show up or raise my voice or anything. I used to feel very inferior to even make even a small comment also. Like I used to feel like, oh, if I tell something about others, maybe it will hit me back as a karma. That hard it had stayed in my mind. So I don't know, it all how people used to take it,
Did
I
you
think.
ever speak back to anyone like in like ever like did you ever speak back to anyone who made these comments?
Yeah, I mean, not at that age, but when this started growing, like anything, like maybe after some 2 3 years or maybe even 5 years, I reached a saturation point and I felt like, no, I just can't handle this anymore. And by the time I had reached my college, and I used to see people like how they used to act, and I started seeing more people who used to face mental issues in college. So at least I'm lucky enough to see have been educated in such a college where mental health was taken as a priority. So that is how I got a little courage and start speaking back to people. At least not to not a very rude way or like that, but at least I used to tell, no, this is not what is happening. There is something else which is bothering me, and this is none of your business. And I think my parents are educated enough to take me to a proper doctor, and it takes time. At least these much of statements I used to make, and it took at least some 5 years to make that.
And like how did people
Otherwise, before
respond?
it used to be
Like
like just listening.
yeah, how did they respond? Like
They started giving me back like in front of me. They used to be like, "Oh, okay," but backside to my parents, they used to go and tell, like, "See how your daughter is behaving. This is not the way how she has to
yeah.
respond to elders or anything." And
Yeah, yeah.
this continued for a longer time, and the more they commented like that, and the more stubborn I used to become. The next time it used to be like even more bad
Yeah,
comment.
but then like with me like when this happens like there's a cycle of I think at some point like you begin to doubt yourself like some point like I used to think like maybe I am really rude or something like that, then like it used to like have a negative impact, like always doing that, like talking back
Yeah,
to people, then
and
I really used
and
to feel
we start
nervous.
getting to hmm, yeah, that's what we feel within ourselves. But at some point of time, I used to think like if I don't speak out like that, those people will not stop speaking in that sense. So yeah, anger. I don't know like how I used to burst out like anything. I used to be a very silent kid till then. But once these started, I don't know how I changed a lot. I think I really gave me so much of courage to speak out. I feel.
Tanya, did you like speak back to people? How was your experience with it?
I mean, I feel like people do kind of view me as rude because I'm just like, I don't know, like with like relatives and stuff, I just leave it to my parents to kind of talk for me. But I spoke back to my parents a lot for them to know how to say the right things. Um, and like my parents are sometimes like, oh, you know, like you have people on Facebook from India who are like, you know, relatives and stuff, you know, they might think, oh, she's look at their daughter, like she's like got problems or whatever. I'm just like, I don't care. I just block them or just unfriend them. I think you just hit a point where like no one's gonna stand up for you other than yourself. So might as well.
Yeah, like don't you have like even with me, like I'm like kind of seen that rebel kid kind of thing in this family. Like don't you ever feel like it's hurting you, or like maybe like it's like I don't know, like with me, like doing too much of it sometimes, like I feel like what if like this is what I become, like a grumpy person or someone like who's talking back at everyone else? Do you think like
Yeah.
yeah?
Many times I did feel like that because I was never such kind of a person who used to speak back like that. I was like a very silent kind of a kid and people pleasing, that kind of a person. But once these things started, I started feeling bad about myself as well. Like, why am I doing like that? This is not the right way to tell people. And sometimes I used to console myself because they don't know what is happening with me, and due to that ignorance they are making such statements. Why should I even throw back on them? Like whatever they are doing on me, like I shouldn't be doing that to them as well, right? So but yeah, I don't
Well,
know, like it used to
this is
come
yeah.
spontaneously, like
This is like what Indian culture is, right? Like
spontaneous.
don't speak back to people, like however
Mhm.
much koi bura kare,
Yeah.
what however amount of bad they do to you, just be
Our
kind. Like
upbringing is like that.
yeah, like but that like I don't know, yeah, like Tanya, like did you get that kind of feelings that like did you doubt yourself or like something like that?
Yeah, because when I was really struggling with like frustration with my health, I was really moody and stuff, and my family would always be like, "Oh, you changed. You're so like grumpy, rude, etc." Um, but for me, it's like if you speak to me nicely and you respect me, I'm not going to talk to you like that. It's only if you're going to give me something bad, then you're going to get it back. Um, so I try to like console myself in that way, but obviously hearing that other people like you guys do the same and feel the same, then fine.
Yeah, like I think yeah, like it's yeah that same thing that don't be disrespectful and something like that. I don't know, it kind like there are days when like if there's a very bad encounter, like sometimes it just like somebody says something too extreme, and then like I have to say a lot of things. Then that day, like I really think about like what I said, like was it too much or like too less. But yeah, like I don't know, but I think I have made this kind of an image in my family that, like Nikhil will say something just like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And after that people started fearing to speak with us as well. This lady is a little arrogant, we can't mess up with her, that kind of a statement I used to hear.
Yeah.
And more irritating thing was like at the very initial stage itself, people used to tag me with like maybe like split personality, or these could be the effects of black magic and such thing. Like I never used to believe such thing, and like, in our family we never used to even think about such things. But when people started telling these things, I started hating myself for carrying those things, like whatever people used to tell, because at the age of 13 or 14 it used to be like whatever people tell, we believe that how we were like. So that what made me like hate myself to the maximum extent, and it had a very bad effect on my health as well. Like when after few years when I took a therapy, my therapist like used to tell me like you have been a lot of torture to your mental health or your body, like by hating yourself a lot. And I had to take a couple of sessions to actually come out of it.
That is interesting because like I don't think there's a positive attitude around therapy like in our culture. Like so
Mhm.
like how did that happen? Like did you face any resistance?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I never knew anything about these. I only used to hear about such things during my college days, but I was reluctant to go. Like, how can I go alone, or I need somebody else to accompany me, or nobody. There was no push actually, but I just used to hear that by taking a therapy, like we might become a little better or something. I used to hear a few people taking it as well. But when I started volunteering with other people, they used to like do a lot of campaigns regarding these things. So that's when I made a strong mind. Yes, I have to go for it. And luckily, even my father was looking out for something of that sort then. So that's how I started taking therapies, and it really did miraculous changing in my life, I think.
Tanya, like how's your like have you ever taken therapy like for this?
Mhm.
So like how was it like in your family, like when you told them or like how did it go?
My mom was born in England, so she's a lot more understanding. My dad was born in India. He sometimes is like, it's a waste of money. Um, or like, if you just want to talk, you can talk to us.
Yeah, yeah, that's the most common. Like, yeah, you're just talking, right?
Yeah. Um, but I think it goes around. I don't even know. Do people even know what therapy is in India?
Therapy, what?
Do people know what therapy is in India?
Yeah, yeah, that's what like it's like that's
Yeah.
why I was surprised with Kunal because like I rarely hear people like taking therapy for this. Like even when we started like CCS, like we did a couple of sessions and like very few people attended and like yeah, like right now there's but I think yeah, with like right now there's a kind of a movement. Like people are I think
Mhm.
discussing more about mental health because of the pandemic or something. But yeah, before this, like it was almost non-existent. Like I think going to a psychologist was like you are mad
Yeah.
basically. You are already crazy. So that's why
Uh,
you're going to a psychiatrist or a
Actually, there was
psychologist.
a lot. Yeah. There was a lot of reluctance in my family as well. Initially, my dad also hesitated, like, what if people but I took a lot of time to actually make a decision also to take a therapy, to take one counseling session. That's how we thought, okay, without getting like at least my dad, he took a strong stand. Okay, let me because by that time we had tried almost everything, whatever people said, like maybe it be like doctors or even those black magic or split personality. Yeah, maybe that was the reason. Like once people started tagging me with all those things like black magic or this thing. That's why he wanted to like make it a double sure, get double sure that these are not the effects, or if something of that sort is there, at least by to cleanse with those stuffs. That's how it all started. And luckily, I could find one good therapist during those days, and it all started by that.
Like let's talk about black magic because I think that's interesting. So what happened with me was like my family was never like very religious until I got sick. Like my mom was never very religious. Like she used to believe in that work is worship like funda. Okay, and then suddenly what happened? Like I am sick like 2 years. I am not getting better. Now suddenly like people are saying things. So like there are havans going on. There are some things going on and then I get my kundali made like, and then we go from pandit to pandit, like taking opinion, and every pandit is like, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with your kid. He'll be like better in 2 months." After 2 months, we go again, like, and then no, again he'll be better in 2 months. So yeah, like I think this thing is like so, like I think omnipresent in like Indian families and stuff. And like whenever something goes wrong, like first thing is like yeah, kala jadoo, black magic, and like someone's nazar and something like that. Like
Yeah.
it's so irritating. Like and like I come from a science background. Like and every time I sit there and like just like scold myself. Like Nikhil, why are you here? You know this is not true. Like why? Are you, Like I used to feel like ashamed of myself. Like why am I doing this? Like yeah, but yeah, it's mom, family, everything. So like you have to, and I used to like like silently in my mind, I used to like sarcastically talk to, to the yeah 2 months yeah like you have to do that kind of thing. Like I never used to like I knew it was untrue, but like it was kind of torture having to go through all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how many number of babas or pujaris I had visited by then. They used to give me like so many amulets and threads like to wear. Like during my school days, also like my hands used to be filled like this much of threads. So and it used to be so embarrassing in front of my other friends, like why I'm wearing so much, and my neck also it used to be filled with all those stuff. Like, very embarrassing, I feel.
Yeah, right
But
now.
yeah, like
Yeah.
my parents also like a possible solution anyone gave, like try with these people, try with that person, he is good in that, and we used to go like travel a lot of distances as well just to find one solution for this, but unfortunately nothing worked out. And yeah, as time passed I got diagnosed, and yeah, that's why I always tell that I celebrate my diagnosis, because at least finally I could find something like where I can tell people, oh no, this is the thing which is happening with me, that's why I'm like this.
Yeah, like like I understand the desperation because like we are not getting any answers. So like yeah, why not? Because ultimately we want just to be well, right? But yeah, I think it's kind of detrimental like when it keeps happening and like you continue on doing that thing. And Tanya, like how's your experience? Like I think we talked we talked a bit about this and yeah, it's like yeah, just talk about it a bit.
Yeah, I could go on for ages.
Yeah.
I don't. My parents have been very religious. They always have been. And I, when we were born, they got our kundalis made, and we've been to pundits in London, in India, and apparently it's my Rahu Mada show, whatever. And I've heard all these different things. Apparently, I'm going to be better by the end of this year. We'll see.
You're gonna be
Apparently, I'm going to be better by the end of
okay,
this year.
okay.
Yeah, apparently it's going to disappear. But yeah, I've tried a lot. I mean, I have these on right now. Haven't done anything. I was telling Nico ages ago that the pundit said that I have to sleep with my head facing north with a cup of water with sugar in it, and then every day I have to put it outside by a tree.
Yeah.
Apparently it's going to get rid of my bad dreams. It didn't do anything. My parents have done the burning the chilies, all of that stuff. Yeah, I just tried everything. I think we've been to the mandir and like done like puja for shani. I don't know, literally tried everything.
Like initially it feels like I don't know, like for a while it feels funny, but then after a time, don't you feel like it's taxing to you and like it's actually like giving a bit of stress? Like don't you feel stressed doing all these things, like getting through all this routine and like how do you feel about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I stopped the water thing. Absolutely. I just told my mum and I was like, yeah, because I had to put a shoe upside down as well next to my bed. I was like, I
That kind of
can't do
stuff
this.
happens in like rural India. Like
I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's not helping. And my parents are like, are you sure? I was like, there's no point. It does get frustrating.
have you had bad
Especially,
dreams though? Like because of that, like have you had bad dreams? Like when you were doing that, did you have bad dreams though? Like
yeah.
okay. Then you
It
have
didn't
like
work.
empirical evidence.
Um, and it feels so stupid being in England and doing it.
Yeah.
But that's even worse.
Yeah, but like, did you ever feel like
Yeah.
apart from this, like, did it ever affect your mental health, like doing all this thing, like constantly going to these things, like instead of like you were diagnosed for very undiagnosed for very long, right? So like in
Mhm.
between all of this, you were doing all these things. So like, did it ever affect your mental health?
I mean, I'm still doing it even after I've been diagnosed, which is a bit stupid. It definitely took up a lot of time in my mind. I would be Googling, how do you find out if you've got nuzzle on you? Stupid things like that. And there was like I think a phase of like a year where I would be constantly stressed trying to figure out exactly what it is. And then there's all these theories that is this person who's put nuzzle on me, stop putting things on social media, all of this type of stuff. And it felt like I couldn't live my life the way I want to because other people might put nuzzle on me, and apparently that makes me ill. It was like suffocating. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like imposing restrictions on yourself for no apparent reason.
Yeah, in my family, actually, like this has affected more. Like this has affected my mom more than me. Now she's now religious, and like the only reason she's now religious is like because of fear that
Mm-hmm.
like I'll get sick again. And yeah, this Nazar thing, she didn't used to do these things ever. But like yeah, every Sunday she'll get that salt and like do that thing. And yeah, like I don't know. And yeah, for like in between when I was visiting this pundits, like I used to get mad at myself. And yeah, like I think that like when these things are going consistently, like it affects your thinking also. Like suddenly you are searching like how to get rid of Nazar, and like it's literally like getting brainwashed. Like I used to feel like that.
Yeah. In my family, it was the other way. Like my mom never used to believe in such things, but my dad used to like fall for that. My dad and my grandmom. So what used to happen is like they used to taunt at my mom, saying that, see what kind of a mother. Time like she used to argue like these are not what we have to do. Like yeah, we are spiritual, we do puja at home, but she never used to believe in such practices. But later what happened was like even she started feeling like, what am I doing something wrong? Is this what is happening with her? Why shouldn't I not support that? And even she started supporting that, and she used to do like however you said, like Sundays bring salt and do all those nazar utana and such thing and all. But yeah, ultimately I don't know what gave us fruit. But yeah, this made me more spiritual, I can say, because more than religious, I started reading a lot of books on karma, especially because that's what the word I used to hear a lot. But then I started realizing what actual karma is, and that yeah, it just said that whatever good deeds we made, that's how we stay happy. So I just believe in that statement, and I started volunteering. I started helping out people, and yeah, from there on, like I just it became much easier for me.
Yeah, like I think with all this, like this is to prevent wrong, right? But we are like chronically ill. Something is going to happen to us. Hopefully not, but and I just think like even after doing all this, like spend it's like there's economic cost to all this also, right? And even after doing all this, something bad does happen. Then
Yeah.
like I think at one point then people will be like, you didn't do that thing. Like you didn't do that thing, that part, or like something this or this or that kind of thing. And I think like yeah, it's on our parents also, like there will be, I think they'll feel guilty also. Like we might have done that or something. So yeah, it's very bad. Like whatever this thing is, all this superstition and this thing. Like it's good, but like yeah, like, it's like I don't like it feels I feel like when wrong does happen, then we get into that like cycle of guilt that maybe we should have done something more, or like this something, or then yeah, like I don't know, it's a scam, but what can we do? Like it's
What used to happen in the background is like if you don't listen to somebody's suggestion, like if they suggest you to go and meet some person, and if we are a little reluctant, yeah, we have seen a lot of such. People don't stop there. They start gossiping behind us, like, see, I told that person to go there, take her to that person. They didn't listen. They're
yeah,
very arrogant. And such kind of statements keep coming up, and that will make them even more like low, or they
yeah,
start going into depression.
Yeah, and then this thing like, yeah, they are rude, they didn't listen, so like, they're arrogant and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
What kind of parents are there?
yeah,
Mhm.
even like stigmatizing parents of kids with chronic illnesses. Yeah.
True.
I feel like I've gone to a point though where I find this stuff funny because it's so stupid. And I say to my dad, next time we go to India, I want to see a tantric because I want to see what he has to say. And
Yeah, I
I
think
feel like I could write a book about all the stupid explanations I've been given. Yeah.
that's the only thing left, like a tantric.
Literally.
Yeah, but it's like even with the tantrics, I think we have heard a lot of news that people have slaughtered their own children,
Yeah.
like because of some like that is insane.
And I
Like
know.
how does this thing exist? Like, yeah, there's absolutely like I don't know, like okay, it can exist. Maybe like you believe in it, like there's a minority of people who believe in it. Okay, you can exist. But I think again, yeah, like making assumptions and like forcing those things on us, like that's the constant theme like across everywhere. Like it's just like people forcing a lot of things on us, like from diet to like superstition to all this like different practices and do this do that, regardless of like what is happening to us and what the doctor says something. Ultimately it's a medical condition, but like yeah, treatment is like completely medical is like like even like if we get the right treatment, then people will be like, okay, well, they did that puja, that's why like you got better, not because of the medicines and stuff. Yeah.
True, true.
Mm. And like I think like we like I want to talk about this a bit also. Like, Kumudini, you said that volunteering helped you a bit, right? So and Tanya, you also like
Yeah.
I read your recent post about volunteering. So, like, did you find like volunteering helped with your mental health? Like it's a bit off topic, but like there's a similarity. So
Yeah, definitely. Because I just wanted to stay away from all these dramas. So once I reached my like marriageable age, like pressure started getting more, and like it was very. I couldn't tell my parents also like, see, just leave me alone. Like how I want, I'll think about that at least it is that it used to get a lot worse and a lot of arguments and all. So I just wanted to stay away from home, and so I just wanted to keep myself busy with these things. That's how I found volunteering interesting. So I just started like with the very few things, and that really made my day. Like at least being with those kids where I used to teach, or any other causes which I worked for. I started meeting so many other people, and especially with VFC, we used to get to go to specially abled kids schools and all. So there, I used to feel, oh, like even with so much of mess, like still these kids are so happy with their lives, and their company used to like help me to forget all those whatever dramas were happening with my life. And I started meeting people, and I started interacting more. I started networking with such people. Like that's how I got to meet Danya, Asman Foundation, the fashion show for differently abled people and all. When I started hearing their stories, and it started motivating me in such sense, like I used to feel like whatever I'm like facing, it's like nothing. Like this is how people are actually facing these challenges, and still they are happy. So I started inculcating in my life, and whatever like however I made a statement right before, like just try to help whoever is in need, and that's how you can just be happy within yourself. So I just started believing in that, and I started advocating for adoption, and I just wanted to keep myself busy, and like so many opportunities opened up for me, just not work. Apart from that, during the weekends, and that's how even people started recognizing me. Like whenever I used to post see these stuffs on my stories and Facebook or on my WhatsApp statuses, and people started recognizing me. Like, okay, this girl is really doing something worth. And yeah, that's how my life changed from there on.
Yeah, I like definitely relate. I think for me, it made it easier to ignore what other people were saying because I was so focused on doing good things. And in my head, I felt like I was a good person. I haven't done this to myself. I haven't made myself ill. Um, And I think, like you said, when you keep yourself busy, you don't have the time to think all these negative things. Instead, you're thinking kind of the positive things. And you meet so many people who are doing amazing things. And you see what other people are living with. And I guess that kind of shows you that if they can do it, then I can definitely do it.
And Kumudini, like we talked about all of this family and stuff. So when, like you said, right, like when you become marriageable age, even that is like, I don't know, like that's
Yeah.
different. So like, how was that experience? You have wrote a bit about it also. Like, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, definitely. See, once you reach that age, and especially in my family, like people start getting married by 2022 and all, like immediately after finishing their college or such. So, like, it was a lot of pressure on me as well. Like, why you not and yeah, there was a lot of restriction to speak to the guy, and I was very much sure that I'll be telling him like whenever like that first interaction happened that this is what I'm undergoing and this is and yeah, it's just not to fear that person, but at least to let that person know like what my life is. So, but my parents or my relatives were totally against that, and they didn't want me to even speak to that person. They just wanted to tell yeah, even if something, if they are like they had instructed me to tell that yeah, I'm taking some pills because of stomachache. That's it, and you're not going to tell anything beyond that. And this was like, what? Stomachache just that much? No, no, not at all happening. But yeah, that's where I had to become even more rebellion, and I started telling like whenever we had any interaction or anything. I used to boldly tell, like many girls used to ask me, like especially in the IBD fraternity, like how can you even tell that? Like how could you bring that conversation itself? For me, it was very easy because I was very particular about that. That is what I'll be telling, and if that goes fine with him, then yeah, we'll take the next steps. But yeah, initially I used to face a lot of rejections, and yeah, it did hurt me and like had a different effect on my mental health as well. But still I was like I didn't want to take that risk as well, because you know like how we undergo, like I don't know like how my day will be like. If I it sometimes it'll be good, and sometimes because of the pain it will be totally ruined. So those pressure and all, like whenever I used to go and see outside, like maybe my sisters as well, the pressure they undergo, maybe for a child or the management of family, it was like something not happening with me. I wanted like all these years I've already suffered a lot, and I didn't want to mess up in future as well, knowingly. At least these were something which was not in my hand, but marriage is something in my hand, right? Like why should I mess with that? That was my attitude, and that was a very strong thing which I took forward, and yeah, that's why I didn't want to take any sort of risk.
And like,
And yeah, even when people used to ask me, maybe my friends or anyone, like they used to tell me like they were only concerned about like, yeah, are you fearful about the intimacy, or are you feared about not getting pregnant or anything? But see, when it comes to marriage, just that is not the concern. Like everyone only targets that. Yeah, if that is not your concern,
but
then
that
why
is
are you
marriage in
fearing
India,
for
like
getting
babies
married?
and that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just the babies.
Yeah.
Are you fearing for that? That was the only concern which people had. And even my friends used to tell, why do you want to tell openly about that? Why? It's nothing. Like I've seen you with me, like you stay so normal. Why do you want to tell that? But they don't know like what is happening within me, right? Like, what kind of pressure I'm undergoing, like to be normal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this was the stuff
And
which.
like it has been like you said, like your marriageable age is 22, like so like you are now 31, and like do you get like any comments now, or like what's like what sort how do people talk
Uh,
to you about that?
Maybe till my 28 age, I think all these comments regularly used to come, and people used to tell my parents like, see, you're not concerned about her marriage. And yeah, even they forced me a lot, and there were a lot of arguments. And at one point of time I had to leave my house and also go and stay in a PG because of this torture. Then finally even they started thinking, even I felt like, yeah, it's my responsibility to educate my parents first, then going and educating people outside. So I still slowly started telling, see, these are the things, like if such thing happen, like how will I be able to manage in that person's house if he's not able to accept me like the way I am? So slowly, that is where it's all started. First, education was with my parents. So then they left it to me. They left a choice with me, like whenever you feel comfortable, whenever you think, and if you show somebody, yes, this is the person whom I want to get married, yes, we will definitely get you married. And yeah, be happy with whatever you're doing. And that's when my volunteering activities also started. Like they were pretty happy with whatever I was doing, and I was doing good at my career as well. At office also, I used to get good appreciations. So when everything was going smoothly, just because of marriage, I didn't want to have that black tag on me. So yeah, it all stopped there, and now people are just accepting me the way I am, and they know like how much ever suggestions or comments they make, I'll not take it, and I have like a written comment for them. So it all stopped there. And yeah, now, especially after this pandemic, though, like everyone are like minding their own businesses now, I think.
Tanya, how's it like in England, like with your social life? Do you feel like people comment on like who you date or like all those things, like relationship stuff? Or like,
I mean, I'm significantly younger than you guys.
yeah.
So that plays one factor.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, how am I going to sit down and explain to someone that I've got these issues? And what if like it was amazing and then I tell them and it's just different? Like they just don't want to. I mean, it is a worry in the back of my head. Like my parents are very understanding. My parents are like, find whoever you want as long as they're Indian. So in that sense, I'm very lucky. But I think personally, I worry like, what am I going to do if I can't find someone who I get along with, but also accepts me for who I am? Or what if I can't have kids or fertility issues down the line? Or what if my health gets worse when I'm older and they don't like that? Then what happens?
Yeah, I think like that is the like even like my biggest concern is like what happens like when I can't handle these things myself. Like how is their image of me going to change? And things like even if like someone says to me that I can accept you, I always have this thing that like they haven't seen the worst, right? Like you're looking me at my best. And what happens when you have to face the worst? Like we like I don't know. I once wrote a poem like if just imagine, okay, like I'm walking on a road and like suddenly my ostomy pouch just fails, and like there is like stool all over my body. Like nobody will come to help me. Like people will run away just because of the smell, and like I don't want that thing happening privately, like in my life. Like yeah, something happens, and then like the person who told me that I can accept you like gets disgusted with me, or like they are in a situation that they can't handle, and then they feel like like even if for a split second, like even if they manage to overcome it, even if for a split second or a minute they think like that, like I think for that minute it will be very embarrassing, and like I won't be able to take that kind of feeling that okay, like they are thinking that they made a mistake or something. I think like that, like in that moment I'll feel very dehumanized. So like yeah, that's why like I stay away from all these things. But I think like like with Kumudni, like I think that marriageable age thing, like like that's a lot of pressure on girls in like our Indian societies. Like once you're 22, 23, like just like there was a girl who got married at 19, like in my school.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, she's, I don't know.
Yeah, it's in fact, even my sisters were married at 19, 20.
Yeah.
Wow. I could not imagine getting married now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like also it's the fact that you feel like even if they do accept you now, you're going to be living in fear of like, what if that changes? And I think it makes you feel like inferior to the other person.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest fear. Like, even if I meet someone who says that, okay, I can accept you, like, what if one day that changes suddenly, or like some incident, like some bad things happen, and like they are not able to cope up with it or something. Because I've seen those things. Like, I stayed for
Mhm.
like 2 years in a government hospital, and I have literally seen everything. Like, I've seen positive and negative both things. Like, there were husbands abandoning their wives. There were husbands who were there for their wives. There were wives abandoning their husbands. There were wives who were there for their husbands. So like, it's like both things happen, but like it's difficult to just focus on that. Like, again, positive thing that, okay, this will not happen with me. You don't know that, you can't predict that. Like, right now that person is saying
Exactly.
that, they like you, and down the line what happens, like. And like, with males in India, like, it's still like, I think it's easy to hide stuff about males. Like, with females, like, I think even like from the boys side, like, people, like, they inquire about all this, like baby stuff and all those things, like how, even if the girls is like, okay, stomach, there is some stomach issue, then I think the boys side will, like, groom side will, like, start like researching like what exactly it is, like,
Mhm.
even like a small thing might
Yeah.
like not
What exactly?
impact the fertility or like pregnant. Because I think, like marriage, pregnancy, khatam, like that's cycle of life in our society. Like, grow up, marry, make a
No,
baby.
it does happen like this as well.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it's
It does
like
happen like this
if
when like that person, even somebody even agrees to get married. Like, we don't want somebody to just show some sympathy on us and get married. Like, yeah, as you told, like, they have never seen our worst phase. It's just
mm,
because, like, maybe some due to some prayer, or maybe even they think like they're already, especially in our the community, they feel like once they cross 30, like they have to get married.
yeah,
It's for boys. Like, otherwise, like, they'll have these infertility issues and stuff, and like and when they reach that saturation point, they feel like anybody who's available, yeah, this, I'll just get married, that kind. And because of the societal pressure, they just want to show that, yeah, this person is married, and with that, all those ceremonies and stuff. And due to such pressure of people, will come and they just agree like that, "Oh, okay, it's fine with me," or something. But they haven't seen the worst phase, what we undergo on a daily basis or anything. So it's quite risky to actually just agree without anything thought, or just because of some pressure.
mhm. Yeah, I think in Indian society, even if the man has fertility issues, they will always blame the woman. And then imagine you have a chronic illness is like
yeah,
even worse. Um, so it's just like you just know that um, it's going to be your fault, even if it's not.
yeah, yeah. And I think like this marriage thing is also like tied to self-worth. Like, if you are, if like, if you don't get married by the time 30, so like you can't even find a girl, or like like you are not a person, like you are, something is there's something like very deeply wrong with you, or like, yeah, suddenly like you become like an inferior person,
Mm,
like if you can't marry like by certain age,
mm,
like, yeah, there's like, yeah, like you are
true.
made to feel inferior because like you couldn't find a bride, or like you couldn't find a groom by a certain age.
Mhm.
Yeah, what I want to suggest everyone who's seeing this is like, yeah, just open up and speak out whatever you're undergoing. Otherwise, nobody will understand what you want to actually convey, and they haven't seen the worst phase of us. So even when my relatives were like very, like, they started telling me like, why do you want to do all these things? Why do you want to tell people, whoever comes? So I just started telling like, maybe my mom's brother or my dad's sisters, whoever used to give me suggestions. I just used to tell like, if the same thing happens with you, like if your son finds a proposal, and if that girl happens to be like that, will you, after marriage, will you be seeing her in the same sense like how you actually wanted? So that's how I started making them realize what this actually is. And it's not just about like, okay, once the marriage is done, it's not over. That's how life starts for us, right? People here think like once marriage is done, like they'll not have any problem, they can't speak out, and they have to like think that is their karma and they have to move on. So that's not the thing. Like the whole life is ruined for both the people or even the whole family in that case. So we have to speak out. Otherwise, it's very wrong to conceal this information and get married because of the societal pressure.
Yeah. And like I think like none of us are married yet, but I think after marriage it becomes even more difficult to speak out. Like especially for women, like it becomes even more difficult to speak out. So like I had seen this one woman at Ames. Like what was happening? Like she just got married, and then she got diagnosed with this condition, and then like she had to get surgery, like ostomy surgery. And actually she talked about this to my mom, like because my mom was older and I think like she felt comfortable in confiding. So like the first time I saw them, like her husband was there and like it was nice, like he was supportive and all that thing. But like after she got the operation done, and the next time like when she came for follow up, she told my mom that like like he's not treating her the way like he used to treat her, and like intimacy has decreased, and like she suddenly feels like like a separate part of the, like not even a part of the family, and like not even his wife. So like I and like yeah, she can't tell these things to anyone, and like she used to manage her ostomy alone, everything, like she used to manage everything alone, and her husband has just suddenly like stopped caring like what's happening with her or like helping her with anything. So like I think after marriage, like it's even more difficult for women. And like I know Kumudni, like you are running a group of like women with IBD. Like, do you have anything like whatever? I think like it would be difficult for them to say publicly, but like anything like that you can say
Exactly.
on their behalf,
Uh,
like something.
they shy away from people because like of being judged, like what people think. Even if it is a group of IBD people, it's a IBD fraternity, they shy because like what people might think, and if some known person is there, and what if they start judging by those statements. Like there's a lot of fear, like because they are like made to live in such kind of a suffocating environment where they just do fear to speak out anything out of that. Even like maybe even in the group as well, though it's a closed group and women's group and a safe place, still people find it hard to open up like whatever they are undergoing. And just because it's a very few in numbers, they think okay. And when somebody else raises the same issue, that times people start relating with it and they start opening out like, yeah, this is what even I had faced, and it's really and they don't have any solution actually. They just keep on digging
Yeah.
like what could be the solution, because they are married already and they can't come out of it. And the whole life they think like it's just gone and I'm just a slave of the other person, and he has like mercilessly married me and giving me a life. That kind of a behavior is there. So they're just accepting that yes, this is how my life will be even in the future. I just have to accept the other person's commands and live silently without even speaking out. And few had expressed that they don't even have proper friends to speak out, because like we usually cancel our plans very often, and we don't know like even when we hang out with other friends, if they go to a pizza corner or somewhere any sort of restaurant or bars, like it will be very difficult for them to eat those food. So if they carry food with them, like how people will judge them and start making giving comments like why you're like this or anything of that sort. So they hesitate to even come out of that comfort zone and start making friends with outside people as well. So there's a lot of stigma attached to this mental health as well and physical health as well. It's just
Yeah.
not about mental health. Sometimes like you just can't open up even with a therapist. I feel if somebody is like so restricted,
Yeah,
like
also like
just burning it inside or within
yeah,
themselves.
yeah. In India, like with marriages, like most of the marriages are like after a girl marries, I think like economically and like everything is like tied to the husband. Like I think like they almost lose their freedom, so like, they can't get out. Even like divorce is stigmatized, so like divorce is not an option. And after like kids and everything, like about jobs and like how they'll sustain themselves, I think. And even society, like a woman like who's living separately, like single mother or something, like I don't think like most of our society accepts. Maybe in urban areas, like there is, in some areas there's some acceptance, but I think mostly it's like people, like, yeah, think of this in a negative way, that like she's living alone from her husband, and like, so I don't think that they will have, like, anyone will have the guts to like, and yeah, like they are ill, right? And yeah, I think like their survival gets tied to like the husband, like I, whatever I have observed. So like that's why they feel, I think that that's why like it's very difficult for them to come out of that situation where they're like feeling hellish every day, but they can't escape that. Like they have to just put up with it.
Yeah.
And I know, Tanya, like you are a social rebel. Like, even with me, like, like I have made that kind of image, like to avoid everything like this. Just think 10 times before saying something to me. But like, yeah, what other things do you face? Like,
I mean, I feel like I've always thought this even before I was chronically ill, that Indian society is just so backwards. Everything is stigmatized, everything is commented on. And I think I've always been like rebellious against that in the first place. um, so then with the chronic illness, it just makes me not care even more. I just think it's dumb. Like Indian people care too much about other people than they do themselves. They live for other people.
yeah.
So yeah, like if anyone is watching this, just do whatever you want to do. People are gonna gossip anyways.
Yeah.
So just do it.
But do you feel like difficult balancing that thing? Because like, you know, we're like we Indian people, like we have a tendency to want to like preserve our culture and everything and stuff. But like, yeah, you are born in England, like everything, yeah, you have English friends and everything. So like do you feel any difficulty in like, I don't know, maintaining some balance, or like do you feel any pressure of like doing things the Indian way or something like that? Like I don't know, how's that thing for you? Like I think it must be some unique experience. Like, yeah.
I've had a lot of people tell me, like Indian friends are like, you belong in India, like you're too traditional, whatever. I don't really think like the societal norms should be part of the culture. Like I embrace everything but the negative of it, because people are religious in India but then gossip so much. It's just contradictory. Sometimes I feel like, am I upsetting maybe my parents or something? But at the end of the day, they just say, do what makes you happy. I can't help but talk back at people. But that's just, no one knows what I'm dealing with other than me. So don't comment if you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think like that's the most difficult thing to like convince people to do that.
Yeah.
But do you think like generation wise
Yeah.
that has changed a bit? Like
Yeah.
it's more in the older generation than like in our generation.
Oh yeah, I think our generation, even in India, stands up to what's right and wrong a lot more than the older generation. And younger people are actually starting to live their own lives and not for other people. So it's definitely changing. And I think whether you're in India or in the West, the older generation have no choice but to just accept it.
Kumudri, like, do you feel the same? Like, have you observed like any change, like generational change in attitude?
Definitely, yes. See, once I started meeting more people and started mingling out with more people around, I started to see a different pattern itself. Like how we are like just telling that India is a very stigmatized country. But no, there are few people who actually make you realize that no, this is not the way it is. Yes, we do accept the way you are. That I saw in my volunteering team. They have started like maybe some 10 years back, and they have been like raising their voice through the campaigns around mental health or accepting people or adoption or anything. So that's where even I started realizing, no, it's not just people who just come in. There are few people who are trying to educate people to be more empathetic and compassionate to such people who are like differently abled, or maybe who are undergoing some kind of a trauma. It just says like we just have to accept this ourselves however we are, whatever the pain we are undergoing or anything. We just have to endure it, and maybe that will lead to some regeneration. Because if I had not undergone all these stuffs, I wouldn't be a person who I'm today. Maybe even I would have got married by the age of 20, and I would have been a slave in somebody's house. So this is how it has changed me. That's how I think at least. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of change, and yeah, people have to accept themselves like however they are. Like stigma is something like even my 14-year niece started coming. It came to me, and she told that she's very inferior about her body structure. Like people do body shaming and all because she's a little oversized for her age. So stigma is there everywhere. But only thing we have to tell them to accept them however they are, and just try their best to overcome that. But it's not their fault, right? Being dark complexioned or having any sort of irregular stuff. We just have to educate them to accept however they are, and also educate them to accept people whoever that like they are. Especially these things have to happen in school age itself, so that there are more acceptance to it, and it goes straight into their mind. That's what I believe. That's how even therapies as well. My therapist, like whomever I've met at least some 2 3 therapists. Whatever the first statement they come with is self love. We have to love ourselves first, accept this ourselves first, and then only the outside world will accept however we are. So this is one thing which I always keep in my mind, and yes, this will definitely help us to see the perspective of the outer world as well. So yeah.
I think like you said, your niece came to you with the same thing. Like I think like there is generational change, but it is, yeah, I think it is kind of slow. But like I think with stigma, it's like that. Like
Hmm.
it's not a problem that will go away in like 5, 10, 20, 25 years. I think like it will take many generations. Like I think it's like it's evolution kind. It's related to evolution. You have to be mentally and like we have to evolve in that sense. Like uh, first people
Yeah.
have to understand that like it's not our fault, then people have to like understand how like not to say all these things.
Hmm.
And I think these things will take a lot of time, and like till then we have to like continue speaking up and like continue having such discussions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to speak out. That's what I want to suggest everyone. We have to speak out. Even I told my niece that itself. Yes, this is not your fault, but you have to tell others like this is not your fault, right? So only when we educated the people around us, they'll also come to an understanding. Otherwise, they don't know what we are undergoing and what our lives is. Unless and until they come and stand in our shoes, only then they can actually empathize or connect with whatever we are undergoing. So it's on our duty. It's our duty to tell, let people know what exactly we are undergoing, or what is it, or anything which they are like thinking in the wrong sense. It's our duty to correct them. It's not just being silent and taking whatever taunts they're giving. Yeah. At least at that age, I'm very happy that by 14 she came and she told me like this is what is happening. But if I remember my teenage, I never used to speak out with anyone. I was like just suffering within. So this is how at least some sort of change has to happen, and it is happening, I feel.
Yeah, Tanya, any final words?
Yeah, no, I agree. Speak out, because us saying stuff now will help people in the future, future generations. It will take time. It's an entire, like, you're re-educating everything everyone's already learned. Um, we can't expect anyone to understand if we don't speak up. So yeah, speak up.
Yeah, I think like what Komodini said, like it's about like, yeah, if you can, then like I think it's kind of your duty to do this thing. Because if you don't, then will like people like you will suffer. Like there will always be someone like you. And like,
Mhm.
however much you wish that this would not have happened all the time, like there will always be someone suffering like you. So I think, yeah, it's our duty to like make sure, or at
Yeah.
least try that those things don't happen to anyone else. Yeah, I think that's a good point to end. And thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Kumudini. And I figured out a good
Yeah, we
ending.
never know,
So,
like,
yeah, go on.
no, we never know, like, somebody would have been seeing us as an inspiration to speak out.
Yeah.
So we had to
Yeah,
speak out.
yeah, yeah. So with that, we'll end, and this will be available on Tanya's podcast. So go to her podcast and listen to this conversation and previous conversations. And we are on YouTube as well. So like, share, and subscribe. Yeah. And we'll see you soon another time. Yeah. Chalo. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all.